Oh, I finished.
Yeah, the music is over. Okay, so James, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can share your
my
presentation.
presentation.
Yeah.
So, as Yelena said, I've been very lucky to work with Trendy English several times, and I count the team at Trendy English as friends and not just colleagues. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here again, and thank you very much for joining me. If we've worked together before, then it's nice to see you again. If it's the first time, then I hope that you enjoy the presentation and take away lots of ideas that you can use with your students, okay? Because that's the main objective here. So as Yelena said, I work in Rome at the moment, and I have a good balance actually between teaching my own lessons, my own students, and teacher training. So I work on the CELTA course and other teacher training courses. So what I'm going to talk about today are things that I've actually used in class with my students, both adults and YLs, teenagers and even younger. You can use the role-play games with any age. So yeah, I'm going to be speaking from experience, not just from theory. And I think all of the speakers today have a lot of experience using these games. So I hope that you get the same benefits as we have from this technique. So this is a slide that I've borrowed from Yelena. She actually sent it to me, so there's no copyright, but this is a really good image because this is what happens in class a lot of the time, right? We do presentation of the grammar, we do the practice of the grammar, controlled practice, some gap fill exercises, and then it gets around to using the language, could be grammar or vocabulary actually, and it looks like Keanu Reeves here in The Matrix. There's a block, okay? And these role play games can be a fantastic way to unblock our students and to allow them to communicate freely. And as I said, I've seen this for myself. Okay, so what's the problem here? Well, role plays are nothing new in ELT, as you know. But the role plays in the course books are not always as interesting and as engaging as they could be, okay? Because often people have very, very specific set roles and the situations are a little bit wooden. They're a little bit forced, right? So you're the banker and you're the customer. Hello, I would like a loan. Good morning, how can I help you with the loan? You know, students do the roles, but they're not involved. There's a very big difference between performing a role and really engaging in what you're doing, okay? So the role play games that Elena and her team have designed especially try to make this jump and try to get the students truly involved. And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the theory behind that. But first, as you know, role-play games are nothing new. In ELT, they're still quite new and exciting, but they're nothing new in the outside world, shall we say. And one of the most famous role-play games was Dungeons and Dragons in 1974. I don't know if anybody here has played it, but it's a traditional board game. But a lot of the principles that we use in the role-play games are taken from these board games. So what are the principles, okay? What's the theory behind this? So we always have an aim, okay? These are games with aims. This is really, really important to stress. Games with aims. So we always have a target language, okay? So this could be grammar. This could be vocabulary. This could be functions. So any of your, systems, lessons can feed in perfectly to a role-play game. We have interactive stories with an aim for the students, okay? Now, I talked about just now the sterility of the classroom if we're not careful, or sterility of a traditional coursebook role play if we're not very careful, because there's no real aim, okay? I don't want to win the bank loan. I'm not interested. I'm only 12. I don't want a mortgage. I'll do the exercise, but I'm not involved. I'm sorry, because there's no objective for me. What am I going to win? So with these stories, because that's what they are, the next point, narratives. With these role play games and these stories that we create an objective, okay? So we're playing, of course, the process is the most important thing, but there is a goal, because without a goal, you don't get any process, do you? Because you have nothing to aim towards. So students are really, really involved in that because they're competitive as well. And they are competitive in teams or individually. We'll see how we can adapt the role play games later on. And so what makes it different then from a role play game in a course book often, that here we have improvisation. So we use the dice that Yelena and our team have created when we started a project called Enraid last year. And we have to improvise because language is improvisation in real life, isn't it? You can have a plan to go and order a coffee. I'm in Venice, actually. I live in Rome, as Yelena said, but I'm in Venice right now on a weekend trip. And so I can have a plan in my Italian brain to say, okay, I'm just going to order this coffee. I've got the sentence organized in my brain. I go up to the counter. Vorrei un caffè, per favore. And then the other person will say something that I can never expect, because that's what language is. That's what communication is. And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to prepare students to communicate, right, in the real world. And so these role play games introduce an aspect of improvisation that prepares them a lot better to actually use language in the real world, because you can't prepare 100% for all of the conversations that you're going to have. Otherwise, we'd be walking around like robots. So, you know, we have to get that across to the students, and we can practice this. This is a skill like anything else that can be developed. And the last point there, intercultural communication. So I'm going to show you how you can adapt the games to bring in other accents, other ways of communicating. And so we can prepare our students not only to pass exams, but to communicate in a globalized world, okay? Communicate in English with other cultures. So it might be a Russian student and a Japanese student, or a Russian adult, you know, a Russian business person communicating with a Japanese business person, or a Russian person with a German, again, all in English, okay? So we have to prepare them for that. And these role play games can also do that. All right, so this is why we're doing it. Okay, so this is the dice that we use. There's a link there, which I'll share with you later. And you simply roll the dice. It's minimum 1, maximum 20, okay? So at several points during the game, the player, no longer a student, the player has to roll the dice, okay? Now, if you get a very low number, it means you have bad luck. If you get a very high number, it means you have very good luck, okay? And so, of course, the situation changes because of the luck of the dice. And the language that we use changes because of the luck of the dice. Improvisation, right? Sorry if you can hear. Can you hear the geese behind me? That's not me. There's some geese flying overhead. They're making quite a racket. Okay, so how have I used this in class? All right, as I said before, lots of different ages. So here we have Harvey Spektrov from Voronezh. And Harvey came to me because he was interested in doing one-to-one business English. Okay, now you can see by his face that he's a very busy man and he takes himself quite seriously. Okay, so when I mentioned to Harvey that I'm an English teacher who really enjoys bringing role play games into the classroom, at first he was a little bit doubtful because he's always thought that English should be very, very formal. And if you laugh during an English lesson, then something has gone very wrong. Okay, because he never laughs at work. Poor Harvey. Okay, but I started Well, of course, I started by finding out what he wanted with his English. So you do a needs analysis and you find out, oh, you need it in this situation, this situation. For example, in restaurants, when you go out with your clients or your colleagues and you speak English, you find it very difficult to make small talk, or you find it very difficult to talk about the food. You don't have the vocabulary for this. And it's very important because, of course, for him, it's not just about the contracts. You also need to create relationships with people. And so we started using role play games, and you can make role play games about small talk, about the weather, about the food in a restaurant, about any situation. You have your target language, and then you think of a situation in which you use the target language. And then with the dice and a few simple slides, you can create your own role play game. And so we've been playing role play games, and he was a little bit doubtful at first, but he really enjoys it, and he now recognizes the value not only of practicing English, but practicing English while you're improvising. And these are two really valuable skills. The language on its own does not mean anything. Okay, the language on its own does not mean anything if you can't put it into practice in specific situations. So now Harvey is smiling a lot more than in this photo. Another type of class that I use the role play games for, teenagers, okay? And they're not all as interested as you are this morning in role play games. You can see by their faces here. This is not my class, it's from the film Sister Act. But the teenagers really enjoy it because it also allows them to be competitive, okay? Again, remember always that you have an aim. Anything that you do with a role play game has to have an objective. It's not just fun, it's fun and useful for the educational purpose. And for the teenagers, it's great because they understand better than anyone, my teenagers anyway, they understand what games are, okay? A lot of my teenagers are big gamers. And so, yeah, I adapt the role play games to their needs as well. Okay. So before we do a little demo, because we have a time today, I'm very happy that we can do a little demo so you can see how it works in practice. The role play game that we're going to start with actually is called Networking in Turkey, okay? And it's a very good one to introduce people to because it practices polite question forms. Now, this is where it's interesting for me. They are polite question forms as you would ask in British English. Now, I'm from near London, so this is very comfortable for me. But then this opens up a whole other range of questions. What type of English are you teaching, and why are you teaching this type of English? Not only the language, but also the culture and the cultural norms, the pragmatic meaning of the language. So I would love to talk about this for an hour, but I'll be brief. I'm studying a master's degree in applied linguistics at the moment, and one of my recent modules was on intercultural communication. And there's been a lot of research done about teaching language and then teaching culture. So a couple of quotes from these researchers here. So Byram and Moran say there is an indivisibility of linguistic and cultural learning. Indivisibility of linguistic and cultural learning. So I can't just teach the words, I need to teach how the words are used in different cultures, not just in the UK. If I use the same language in London and in New York, I'll get very different results. So we have to also teach how the language is used. And then Kramsch, I think that's how you pronounce it, Kramsch in 1993 said that culture in language learning is not an expendable fifth skill. Culture in language learning is not an expendable fifth skill. Okay, we've got the reading, the writing, the listening, and the speaking. And he says, don't forget to also include cultural awareness, because here you can use the language in theory, but with this cultural awareness, you can use the language in practice. So with all that said, let's get on with the role play game. I think it's a very interesting topic, perhaps for another day. But be aware that this particular game is to work on polite question forms in a British cultural environment. Now, this is not the only cultural environment, of course, and it will depend on your students and what they need and where they will use English as to how you adapt this. But it's just one. So you can see the phrases there. This may sound a bit stupid, but I hope you don't mind me asking. I wonder if you could tell me, do you happen to know? Do you think you could tell me a little bit about? And these are the phrases that you must use during this game, okay? If you use these phrases, good things happen. If you don't, then it's not very helpful in your final objective. So I would recommend taking a picture of these if you are interested in being a volunteer. I'm going to ask for a volunteer in a minute, so get ready. But if you want to volunteer, please take a picture of these phrases or a screenshot so you have them ready. Okay, so this is our first game. We have been called by the Ministry of Education, and thanks to our fantastic work during the last few months when we've had to adapt our teaching practices and find new ways to teach English, the Ministry of Education is sending us all to Turkey for 1 week of holiday. Okay, so as you can see, there is a beach resort and it's a very beautiful place. And during this holiday, you have challenges to do because you're going to be working with teachers from all over Russia. And so you have to get into teams, and this is your challenge. So I'll give you 30 seconds to read. Okay, so because I just want to show you how it works just for a couple of minutes, and you can see a whole video of these role play game demonstrations online. I'll share some links at the end. But just because we have a couple of minutes, I just need one volunteer. So perhaps in the chat box, if you would like to play along for a short while, could you just write your name in the chat box, please? Elena, I can't see the chat box. Has anybody volunteered?
Yes, Anastasia Tsibik is ready to play with you.
Okay, Anna?
Anastasia.
Okay, Anastasia.
Stacy, this is why I'm called Stacy.
Stacy, okay, we can use Anna. That's absolutely fine. So yep. we're gonna play a very short section of this game, okay? Just for, as I said, a couple of minutes. This game can last for hours. I know this because I have made it last for hours. Well, most of all, my students have made it last for hours because of their dice rolling. So perhaps Yelena could put the link to the dice in the chat box for me. That would be very useful. And then we can start with Stacey. Is that okay, Yelena?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just
no, I mean,
give me just
no rush. So Stacey, we're going to play this as an individual, okay? Of course, we can play it as a one-to-one lesson, either one-to-one lesson, or we could play it as a group. I've played this before with a group of, how many? There are 10 teenagers, and we've played this game. And I put them into 5 groups, 5 pairs, and of course, you put them into the breakout rooms to collaborate between each other. And then, you know, you can put them into 2 groups of 5, you know, to collaborate, 1 representative from each group. So you can play with the breakout rooms so you get as much speaking as possible, because remember, that's our objective, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to play it with Stacey as if it was a one-to-one game. So Stacey, this is your task, right? Where would you like to go first, and who are you looking for?
Oh, you expect me to just to remember the names now?
Well, there you go.
Can I, yeah, is that okay? If you leave it like this?
Sure, okay.
Yeah. So, this may sound a bit stupid.
Hang on, no, not yet.
Not yet.
You're ready, but just tell me where you want to go first, because you're not speaking fluently.
Okay, so, well, supposedly they all are at the places they work, yeah? Adam Black, for example.
Who knows?
Yeah, so.
But you can see there, Adam Black's a cook, and you can see how many restaurants there are, so.
Yeah, so. You could try to find out. Yeah, probably a hotel animator would know more, but.
Okay, so let's look for Sandy. Which number of place would you like to look for her first?
Hotel animator, not the bar, swimming pool. Oh my God. So many things. Aqua park.
Okay, perfect. So you're walking along to the aqua park.
Yes.
And you roll the dice. So if you have the dice, then you can roll the dice. Do you have the link there?
Yep.
Okay, so roll the dice and tell me the number, please.
It's 18.
Okay, fantastic. So actually, a young man in one of these golf buggies comes past and asks you if you want a ride. So you get there in super fast time. So it's your lucky day. There you go. You see, with 18, something great happens. Okay, so you get to the aqua park, and because you rolled an 18, you see a person with the name badge Sandy.
Oh, it happens to be Sandy now. Okay. I'm that.
Were you not looking for Sandy?
Yes. I mean, I would expect many people to be there, but like the very first to be Sandy, that's really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you roll an 18, and you know, life changes. Yeah. Okay, so you see Sandy, and now you need to use the
So
language.
this may sound.
Hi, can I help you?
Hello. Oh my God. Hello, Sandy.
Hey, hi. How can I help you?
And this may sound a bit stupid, but there's some contests going on in this hotel. Do you happen to know?
No, it's not stupid at all. So how can I help you? What do you need? You're so polite. Thank you so much.
So I hope you don't mind me asking which types of contests we're going to have.
Sure. So with me, we're gonna do we're gonna do a quiz, right? So after dinner at about 9 p.m., you need to come to the Dom Bistro number 9 on your map. Bring a pen and a pencil, and then you have to come and just have some fun. That's all.
Oh, thank you so much. You've been most helpful.
Well, you've been really nice. I think you rolled an 18. You asked me in a formal way. I feel respected. I feel valued. So of course, you know, life is easy when you do this.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, have a good day.
So, yes, have a good day too.
Okay. So this was, thank you.
Say goodbye to you for some.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Stacey.
And it sounds really interesting.
We only did one dice roll there, but like I said, this was just a very, very, very short introduction. And of course, if we had more people, we'd have different situations.
Sorry, which accent was that?
I don't know. It's something. It starts American and then it goes into like New Jersey American. Okay. And it can change. But anyway, thank you, Stacey. So if you could turn your microphone off again, that was great. Thank you very much. So as we saw there, we had the target language and we had speaking. Okay, you don't have to sacrifice these things to have fun. You can integrate them into the role play games and have fun. So thinking about the teenagers, I have a lot of teenagers who are preparing for the PET, or have been preparing for the PET exam, the Cambridge PET exam this summer. And as you know, there's a photo that you have to describe, and you have different prepositions of place. Okay, and this role play game is excellent. This is another one of Yelena's role play games. So again, thank you very much to her. And basically you have to use the different prepositions to solve the problems along the way. You can see that our final objective, our final aim is to rescue the princess from the castle. But we have several problems on the way. And this is great when you have a group of teenagers, like my 10 teenagers, they get into teams, and this is where they also learn the valuable life skills of negotiation and collaboration. Okay, so you've got your competitiveness always, because it's a game and you want to win, but negotiation and collaboration. So you're including all of these things into the role play games. And I'm going to send you a link at the end in which I've detailed step by step how you can play this game and different scenarios that you can use if you roll a high number or if you roll a low number on the dice. Okay, so I'll send you that link at the end, and I hope that you use it. We won't demo this one, but I can tell you again from experience that it's really, really useful. Students enjoy it a lot, and most of all, they remember the language a lot better, because when you put a memory with an emotion, then it sticks in the long-term memory a lot better. And an emotion can be, I had a great time, I had fun, I was engaged, this happened, you know, I can ask my students now 2 months later about this game and the prepositions that they used, and they can tell me the different things that happened. So memory and emotion. A memory with no emotion gets forgotten very easily. So again, role play games, we bring in these emotions into the learning experience. So as I did there with Stacey, you have lots of different characters, right? So I talked about intercultural communication before, and this is really important for me because I'm from a town near London, and I do not want my students to just understand me, because my students in Rome, and I have a few students also in Moscow, online, of course, these students are not only going to have to understand a person from my town, okay? They're going to grow up and they're going to work in a global community of English speakers, okay? So that means that in the role play games, I put on different hats and I use different accents, because now I'm from Sicily. You want to do business with me, you need to understand me first, you understand? Okay. Or I could even be from different parts of the UK. Like Birmingham. My name's Tommy Shelby. This is legitimate business. Okay, and it doesn't take a lot. You don't need to prepare. I've just got a pile of hats here and my bad impressions of accents, but that's okay. The point here is that we're bringing variety and we're giving the students the opportunity to communicate with different accents and understand different accents. Because as you know, there are millions of varieties of English. So as many as they can understand, the more they understand, the better, of course, for them. And it's great for you as well as the teacher. I have a great time in these lessons. They fly by for me. They go so quickly because I'm also engaged. And when the teacher's engaged, that is very infectious for the students, very infectious. So don't forget that your enjoyment and your engagement is reflected in the students. So don't forget to have fun. Okay, so we just have a couple of minutes left. I'll put these links in the chat box at the end. So there's a demo recording. There's an article by Elena. It was an absolutely fantastic article that she wrote about role-play games in general. I'd recommend. And then, as I said, the Saving the Princess RPG guide. I'll put that in the chat box at the end. And then very, very quickly, so you can get in touch with me there. My email's in the top left. That's my blog. So I've got a section of Zoom teaching. One of the sections is Zoom teaching. Another section is mindset, if you're interested in educational psychology and introducing that. So have a look through there. There's lots of lesson plans and lesson ideas there. And then in August, we're planning to do this course. So there should be more information in the next week or so. So I hope to be working with you again this summer and you know, sharing some ideas. So I think that's my time up, Yelena.
Okay, thank you, James. Okay, James, if you, not James, I mean, dear guests, if you have any questions to James, you can ask them now. So we've got a little bit of time for questions now. Any questions? I put James, James, I put a link to your blog in the chat.
Yeah, and I'll put the links to the websites or the articles that I.
Okay. Yes, and the original versions of the games. So, well, actually, I put them in our groups, group Vkontakte and RPG and ELT on Facebook. So you can download the slides there. Okay.
Yeah, and there's lots of great ideas, and also, for example, Graham, who will be presenting later, has lots of great ideas that he shares in the RPG and ELT group. So it's also a great way to meet other teachers from around the world and just contribute and collaborate with them. So it's been a really cool experience so far.
Okay, dear colleagues, any questions? You can just turn on your mic and ask a question, or you can write a question if you have any questions. Okay, it can take time.
That's okay, we have time.
Okay, well, if people are typing any questions. Okay, love the accents.
That's not a question though. But thank you. No, but with the accents, you don't have to be an actor. Eh? Like I said to Stacey, that accent was quite terrible. But as long as you try to introduce different accents, even you can introduce different accents. There are some apps online, I think, that you can say something and it will change it if you're not comfortable doing your own. But anyway.
Okay, if there are no questions, let's give a round of applause. Julia. You can turn on your videos, ladies. Yeah, I say ladies, I can see that. Okay, thank you, James. So all the links are in the chat, and just to remind that we've got two groups, one on Facebook and one Vkontakte, where we discuss games, and I put slides and the article and the descriptions of the game Saving the Princess from James' blog. So I gave a link to his blog in our groups Vkontakte and on Facebook. Yulia, if you send the links to the web to our Zoom chat, that would be really great. Okay, and we all hope that you will join James in August for our training course, like refreshing, brushing up, you know, well, August, so summer holidays is over and we are ready to work. Usually, yeah, teachers want to study something new, and so on the 18th of August, James is given a full day workshop, online workshop. So just follow or just don't miss the news. So we are going to announce this workshop next week, I believe. Okay, thank you, James.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, thanks, you too. Enjoy Venice.
Yes, now it's time for tourism. So I'm looking forward to seeing the recordings later on, but unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I'd like to stay, but also I need to see Venice today. So I'm going to shoot off, but thank you very much. And thanks for organizing all this, because it's really fantastic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well done, everybody.
I just want to remind that you can make a post. So write something and